Hi everyone. See, till now we talked about blood, then we also talked about heart, all right, and types of blood also. Now, when we were discussing blood, at that time we saw that the main function, one of the main functions of the blood is to transport oxygen from the lungs to the body cells. So, one of the main functions of the blood is to transport oxygen from the lungs to the body cells. And when it transports oxygen to the body cells, it also takes carbon dioxide from these cells, and then this carbon dioxide rich blood is going to the lungs. When we say carbon dioxide rich blood, it means deoxygenated blood. And when we say oxygen rich blood, it means oxygenated blood. So, blood transports oxygen from the lungs to the body cells, and once it gives oxygen to the body cells, it takes carbon dioxide from these cells, and then this deoxygenated blood goes to the lungs. But before this deoxygenated blood reaches to the lungs, it has to pass through heart. Let's understand this process. This process of passing blood through the heart is called blood circulation. So now let's see blood circulation in heart. See, as I just told you that one of the main function of the blood is to transport oxygen from the lungs to the body cells and deoxygenated blood from the cells to the lungs. So basically what happens is these various parts of our body gives deoxygenated blood to the right auricle. So the main thing we need to understand here is from different part of the body parts, from different parts of our body, deoxygenated blood goes into the right auricle. All right, let me show you like this. Just a minute. All right, so from different body parts, this deoxygenated blood goes into the right auricle. And how does it go into the right auricle? Through veins. There are two veins, one coming from the upper part of the body, the other one coming from the lower part of the body. So, the vein which is coming from upper part of the body is called superior vena cava, and the vein which is coming from the lower part of the body is called inferior vena cava. So, deoxygenated blood through various parts of our body goes to the right auricle. Now, when right auricle needs to receive this deoxygenated blood, it has to relax to receive this deoxygenated blood. Once it gets the deoxygenated blood, then it needs to push this blood to the right ventricle. And for that, this right auricle needs to contract a little bit. So, right auricle relax to take the deoxygenated blood, then it contracts to push the deoxygenated blood towards the right ventricle. And this goes through the tricuspid valve, which is present in the heart. Now, from this right ventricle, the blood goes to the lungs. So, the right ventricle contracts to pump the blood to the lungs. And how does this happen? This happens via pulmonary artery. When I explained you, I told you that pulmonary artery is exception because normally deoxygenated blood is being carried by veins, but pulmonary artery is being an exception. It takes deoxygenated blood from right ventricle towards the lungs. And once the deoxygenated blood reaches into the lungs, we know that exchange of gases happens here. Means this deoxygenated blood means this carbon dioxide is given away by the lungs and lungs take oxygen from the cells. When we studied the process of respiration, we studied that exchange of gases happens in lungs through alveoli. So now after the exchange of gases, the lungs now is taking oxygen rich blood, that is oxygenated blood. I have marked here red color to show that now the blood has become oxygen rich blood, that is oxygenated blood. So from the lungs, oxygenated blood now goes to the left auricle. So from here it goes to the left auricle. And this happens via pulmonary vein. Again, pulmonary vein is an exception because normally oxygenated blood is being carried by artery. But pulmonary vein being exception, it takes the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left auricle. Now, because left auricle is receiving the blood, it relaxes. Once enough oxygenated blood is there in left auricle, then left auricle contracts a little bit. And then this oxygenated blood goes into the left ventricle. Right? So, from this left ventricle, now in this left ventricle, there is oxygenated blood. If you have noticed, I have made this line a little bit thick. Why? Because the left ventricle has thicker wall. Now, why does it have thicker wall? Because left ventricle needs to push the blood very hard. And this blood is passing through aorta, which is the biggest artery in heart. Right? So, when left ventricle contract, it pushes the blood through aorta, and this oxygenated blood through aorta reaches to the different body parts. And once this oxygenated blood reaches to the different body parts, these different body parts and cells of our different body parts starts the process of respiration. And with that process of respiration, our body cells again generates carbon dioxide, and again the deoxygenated blood starts, and the whole process continues. This is how the whole cycle goes on. Remember, these body parts are giving deoxygenated blood to the right auricle. Whenever any part of the heart any chamber of the heart is receiving the blood, it has to relax. And when any chamber of our heart needs to push the blood, then it has to contract. The walls of the left ventricle is much thicker. In fact, even it is thicker than even right ventricle. Why? Because the left ventricle is the only place, is the only chamber which pushes the blood through aorta to the different parts of the body. That is in our upper part also and in our lower part also. Right? So this is how blood circulation happens in our heart. Because it happens with deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood, it is called double circulation also.